Get ready to live fearlessly free with Heather Bunch. Have you ever found yourself doing all the things? You're planning, you're praying, you're preparing, but you are still not seeing the outcome that you're hoping for. When you're working on your goals, did you ever think, what if I mess this up? Or what if it doesn't work like last time? Or maybe you hit a wall while you're working on your goals and you just can't quite figure out what's holding you back. What is the issue? Why is this not working? Well, what if I told you success starts by asking, how could I screw this up? Welcome to Live Fearlessly Free podcast. I'm your courageous coach, Heather Bunch, and I am here to help you Christian women solopreneurs go from feeling stuck, not enough, and fearful to taking focused, confident, and courageous action, because we are growing ourselves, and that is going to allow us to grow our businesses. Now, we are continuing our Think Better, Live Braver series, and we're learning 6 mindset shifts courageous women make to think with faith and focus so that we can do the thing God put in our heart to do. Now, last week we learned how to move from this or that thinking to both and thinking. Being able to hold both faith and fear at the same time and still move forward. So if you missed that, go ahead and check out episode 377. Now, today we're going to be flipping the script, my friend, literally. Because what we are talking about is what psychologists call inversion thinking, or flip the script thinking is how I like to word it. Because both and thinking, what that does is that allows us to hold what's true at the same time. But flip the script thinking helps us to act on that wisely. So today's going to be for you if you are tired of doing all the right things and you're still wondering why the heck are the results not lining up. Today is also for you if you desire to stop letting fear of failure, of perfectionism, or whatever fear it is that hits you, keep you from taking courageous action. I have got you covered, my friend. And if you're ready to learn how this next mind shift can allow you to think smarter and live braver so you can move forward with faith and focus, this is your day. So flip the script thinking is an idea that started clicking for me when I was watching a video by Layla Hormozi. She is a co-founder and CEO of acquisition.com. And she was talking about how the 1% think differently. Now, I'm not saying I'm in the top 1%, although I do have a PhD in rabbit trails, but something she said stopped me in my tracks. And she was talking about how most successful people don't just plan for success. And I leaned in and she said they plan for failure. They ask, how could this go wrong? And what it allows them to do is prevent a lot of what could go wrong. And when she said that, I thought, man, you know what? That's just not like just smart business thinking. It is actually spiritual wisdom, because Father reminds us in Romans 12:2, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewing our mind doesn't just think like more, it thinks better. And better thinking starts with partnering with Father and how we plan, how we prepare, how we problem solve. And so, because success isn't, it's just not about business and in life, it isn't just about setting goals and going for it. It is about learning to anticipate pitfalls. It's about adjusting with grace. And it is about learning how to walk through those challenges without losing faith. So this is what I realized by watching that video. Courageous women don't just hope it works out. We prepare with Father so we can walk it out. So what I want to talk to you about today is how do we shift from outcome thinking, that's focusing on the success, to flip the script thinking, this inversion thinking. Now, most of us start with a goal and we focus on success. We focus on the outcome. We focus on what we want. Isn't that what we're taught? Outcome thinking sounds super great on paper, doesn't it? It's all about success. It's about my goals. What do I want? I want 12 new clients and I want X amount of dollars from this launch and I want extra time with my family and I want to go on this vacation and own this house and whatever else it includes. And we think this is what we're supposed to focus on. That's the goal, right? But here's the sneaky part. So when we lock in on just the outcome, it keeps us focused on just the finish line instead of our faith walk. And when we do that, our brain can go into overdrive and it starts to controlling things that we can't control. And brain science, what this does is this is what's happening. So our amygdala, this is they call it the amygdala because it's an almond shape. That's actually what amygdala means. I think it's in the Latin. And it's the part of our brain that is responsible for fear and our reactivity. And what it does, it lights up like a Christmas tree when we are just focused on the outcome. And it starts whispering, don't mess this up. You're going to fail. It's not going to work. It's not going to work just like it did last time. And then our body starts to flood with cortisol, which is like this stress hormone, right? And suddenly we're overthinking every detail. And that outcome thinking can block us from seeing other insights, from noticing things from other angles. And so we're not creating from faith anymore. We are actually creating from performance-based or fear-based. So flip the script thinking, what it does, and this is how it comes in. Psychologists, again, call it inversion thinking. It is the opposite of outcome-based strategy. And so what it does is it says, instead of saying, how can I make this successful? How can I make this work? It asks, how could this fail? Now, I know that sounds backwards. And this totally sounds like something my inner critic would say. Heather, you're going to do this thing. Of course it's going to fail. What this is, it's not negative thinking. It's actually wisdom. It's wisdom thinking. So flip the script helps you identify pitfalls before they happen. So you can make different choices that are going to keep you on track. It also helps you discover the self-sabotaging that might come up that actually caused the thing you want to do to fail. It gives you a different perspective. You can see something from a different angle. And flip the script thinking trains our prefrontal cortex. Again, that's the part of our brain that plans and problem solves. And it gets us really strategic, but in a different way. This is how courageous women build their business with wisdom. Proverbs 14:15, it tells us, the naive believe everything, but the sensible person considers his steps. So if you're just stuck in outcome thinking and you're just like, I want this outcome, this is what I want, and that's what I want, we are being naive and we're skipping what could happen and what could go wrong. And so we're missing out on being able to actually do the thing that we want to do in the best way possible. So flip the script thinking. It's about considering our steps. It's not being skeptical and pessimistic. Okay. So we're going to do this with grace. We're not going to beat ourselves up over this, right? Which is what I would have done, years ago. I would have been, if I would have asked myself, how is this going to fail? And then I'm like, oh, you're going to do this, Heather, and you're not going to do that. And you're going to do this, and you're not going to do that. And then I would beat myself up for weeks over. Okay. We're not going to do that. That's not what this is about. It is not what shifting from outcome thinking to flip the script thinking. Okay. But this is how we're going to do it. We're going to start with courageous practice number 1, and that is ask better questions. This is where it all starts. It starts in our mind, okay? We are going to train our mind to see the obstacles, and we're going to turn them into opportunities. So when we avoid asking what could go wrong because we think it's negative, we miss out on what could be the pitfalls that could stop us. But here's the thing. When we ask better questions, we get better answers. Because whatever question we're asking, our brain will automatically go to work to find the answer. So when we ask, how could this fail? It's not to predict disaster. What we're doing is we're going to invite wisdom in. We're going to invite wisdom in to show us a different perspective. We're going to invite wisdom in to shine a light on how we might self-sabotage in trying to hit this goal. So, how we turn obstacles into opportunities. Now, in our brain, what's going on is our prefrontal cortex, again, that logical planning center. When we ask the question, how could this fail? It lights up and it starts looking for patterns, okay? It starts looking for what could go wrong, what's potential obstacles, okay? So that we can avoid them. That's typically what we're doing, right? We're trying to avoid the obstacles. But you know what? Sometimes we can't avoid the obstacles, and we just got to learn how to walk through them with courage when we can. And that's okay. But what that is, that's how obstacles turn into opportunities. Now, what it's also doing is, remember that little amygdala, that little fear response area of our brain that's screaming, danger, Will Robinson, danger. Every time, we feel uncertain about our goal and what's going on and can we do this, we're going to actually quiet that when we are asking the question, how could this fail? Because there is something powerful about being able to just lay it out there and go, oh, I could fail by this, this, or this. And it removes the unknown because now we know this is what could go wrong. So let's ask better questions, shall we? So I want you to grab your journal, your planner, your iPad, whatever you love to write on. And I want you to ask yourself, how could this go wrong? Or one of my favorites, how could I self-sabotage this? And then you're going to list everything out again without judgment, okay? Then you're going to flip it. You're going to look at everything you wrote, and then you're going to realize, how can I prepare for this and pivot if it happens? Then you can get a roadmap. This list is your roadmap because you're not ignoring the hard stuff. You are facing it with faith and with wisdom. So let's make this real. Let's get some real tangible examples here so you can really see it in action. So let's say you're planning a launch or a new offer. You can ask yourself, instead of asking, how is this launch, how can I make this launch successful? Flip it and ask, how could this launch fail? Or how could I self-sabotage this launch? Now, I'm going to be honest, and I had to ask this question recently with a launch I just did. In fact, the last 2 launches I just did. Now, I got some leads, but I didn't get any signups. And I was so down and discouraged on myself, like, oh my gosh, I had these 2 launches that went well, and I had these 2 launches that didn't. And then I'm beating myself up. I have a conversation with my husband, and we start inverting the question of how could this launch fail? And what I realized was I was inconsistent in my marketing. I didn't do follow-ups. I was trying to go solo. I didn't involve people like I could. I was waiting till the last minute. And I'm going to be honest, got caught up in some shiny object syndrome and some overthinking. Have you ever done that? Obviously, I have too. But what is beautiful about this? I realized, I'm like, oh, well, I can fix that. I can do something different than what I did on the last time and do more of what I did on the other launches that were successful. Now, let's look at this. Say it's a relationship, okay? So maybe you have a relationship and you're like, how could this go sideways, right? Maybe it's not communicating clearly. Maybe you might avoid the hard conversations. Did that one for decades. Hello? And as soon as I realized I was avoiding hard conversations and I started engaging in hard conversations, my relationships got so much better. Maybe it's a new habit that you're trying to implement, a health goal. I'm doing this one too. I'm like, you know what? I gained a little weight because I didn't ask myself, how could this fail? How could I self-sabotage this? So maybe it's skipping rest. Maybe it's overcommitting. Maybe it's ignoring boundaries. For me, you know what I discovered? Binge eating at night. And it wasn't like crazy. Like I'm not stuffing full cheesecakes in my mouth or something, but it was these little things where I was just not realizing how many calories I was actually eating. I'm also not exercising as much as I used to. I am doing some things, but you know what? I need a little more. Okay? And so just lay out. If I have a health goal, if I want to create this new habit, how could I self-sabotage this? And again, no judgment on this, okay? If you're in a faith season, let's look at faith and say, you know what, it just feels a little quiet right now. You could feel like, Father feels a million miles away, right? I'm not hearing God like I used to. Maybe you need to ask yourself, what's keeping me from hearing Father right now? And just write that down. Is there noise? Is there distraction? Is there self-doubt? Are you condemning yourself? Is your calendar overcommitted and you're just not spending the time that you used to, right? How could this fail? See how it works? And you're not avoiding the challenges. You're exposing them. But now that you exposed them, you could do something about it. And so this is where our mind starts to shift. Because courageous women, we don't pretend it's easy. We are preparing even when we're scared, and we're going to move forward anyways. We're going to get to that in a minute. Courageous practice number 2, flip the fail into faith. Now, this is where we're going to get our mouth into the equation here, okay? We're going from our mind, we're shifting to our mouth. So once we've asked a question, how could this fail, right? We asked our mind, hey, I need some answers. Give me some answers. Now it's time to flip it in our mouth. So, because what we speak shapes what we see. Proverbs 18:21 reminds us, death and life in the power of the tongue, right here. So let's put those same life examples into practice here. The ones that we were listing out in number 1, right? When you asked, how could this go wrong? How could I screw this up? You might have wrote things like, I won't stay consistent. I get distracted. I talk myself out of it, right? But now it's time to flip the script. It's time to take full ownership of what we can control. And when we do that, here's what's going on in our brain and in our body, okay? When we speak something out loud, our auditory cortex activates, okay? And it starts sending messages through our motor system and through our body. And that is a part of us that drives the action and the follow through. So in other words, your brain is listening to your mouth. So it matters. It matters what we say. Here is where the problem usually comes in for most of us. Most of us have had a habit over the years that we default to negative talk. We say things like, this isn't working. I don't have enough time. I always mess this up. No one's going to buy it just like last time. Okay? And when we do, our brain, it actually, remember, starts scanning for patterns when we ask questions, scans for patterns. It's looking for evidence to back it up. But then here's what's fascinating. Our actions start to follow through on what our brain and our mouth are saying. What our brain thinks and our mouth are saying, our actions are going to follow. We think, we feel, we act. That's what happens. So if we think no one's going to buy just like last time, our actions are going to line up with that. Hello, self-prophecy. If I think this is not going to work just like last time, I am going to start procrastinating. I'm going to go and work on the things that are easier. And then I've literally made my own prophecy happen. Flip the script thinking invites us to talk differently, to take what we discovered in courageous practice number 1, how could this fail, that list that we've created, and speak the inversion of it, speak the opposite of it, okay? Take responsibility. So instead of speaking fear, we're going to speak faith. Instead of hoping for change, we're actually going to choose change. So we're going to start with say it out loud using the words I choose to. Okay, this is us taking responsibility. This is us making a choice. So if consistency is an issue, and you know it, I choose to show up with consistency. If focus is a problem, I choose to stay focused on what matters most. Let your mouth speak those things out loud. I choose to keep moving even when it's uncomfortable. I choose to have the hard conversations when it hurts, right? It literally does hurt. I choose language tells our brain you are not waiting for somebody else to make the change or for your circumstances to align. You are taking 100% responsibility for what's yours, the effort and obedience that you can do. And then you're going to let Father handle the outcome and the things that only He can do. So let's walk through those examples again. Remember that business launch, right? So if I don't market consistency, this launch could fail. That might be, what we might say. But let's take responsibility, shall we? So we're going to flip it. I choose to market consistently and trust God with the results. I choose to show up in the room and trust God with the results. I choose to go to the networking events. I choose to ask someone to have a coffee or a one-on-one. I choose to follow up with the leads, right? Do you see that? There's power in that because you were taking responsibility and you're seeing like, oh, I'm going to choose to do these things, okay? Relationships. You might be feeling that you're not communicating clearly. And so you might drift apart, right? So the language we could put to this is I choose to communicate honestly and with curiosity, even when it's uncomfortable. That's the part that you can do. You can choose that. And when you do, the outcome is going to shift. So instead of drifting apart, what is that going to do? It's going to bring you closer, right? Habits, health. If you know what, you might be, if I don't prioritize this rest, I'm going to burn out. So we're going to flip it. I choose to schedule rest and protect my energy. Let's go to faith. You know what? In faith, when you were thinking, and I'm like feeling far from God, what we can do when we flip that script, I choose to make space to hear Father's voice daily. Okay? I choose to make space to hear Father's voice daily. Do you see that fly flying around? I don't know if he caught on camera, but he's been annoying the heck out of me the last couple days. I choose to go find a fly swatter and go take care of him. All right. This is what flip the script thinking looks like in action. You're turning potential failure into faith-filled choices. You're not trying to control the outcome, right? But we're owning our obedience. Now, this is where the shift deepens, right? In our mouth. But because courageous women don't just hope it works, we choose to show up, we choose to speak life, and let God handle the rest. But we can't just stay thinking it and speaking it. We have got to let that shift show up in our movement. So we're going to do courageous practice number 3, and that's take action, right? Nike says it best, just do it. You trained your mind to see what could go wrong. You have flipped your words to take 100% responsibility for what's in your control. Now it's time to do something about it. Clarity without action, it's actually just another form of procrastination. That procrastination is dang sneaky, isn't it? James 2:17 reminds us, faith without works, dead. It's dead. So faith isn't just believing, it's actually doing. It is trusting Father enough to take the steps, even when we don't see the whole path, even when we're afraid, right? That's what faith is. Faith is a substance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. So here's my invitation to you. Act on what you've just discovered. So we have discovered obstacles, self-sabotaging patterns that you wrote down in courageous practice number 1, right? Now, we've talked awesome things about it. We're making choices, but those choices have to move to our actions. Those, my friend, are your next action steps. And when you start taking action, what I love about God is He actually created a celebration thing already in us. And when we take steps and do the thing we're afraid to do anyways, our body releases dopamine. Our brain releases another one, a neural receptor. Dopamine, okay? That's the you did it fuel that helps with our motivation, okay? We don't get motivated before we do it. We get motivated because we did it. God wired our brain this way. Isn't He awesome? I think He's so awesome. I appreciate that so much about Him. So we don't wait to feel ready, but you're going to gain the confidence when you're moving, not when you're sitting there mulling it over and over and over again, hoping something's going to change. Flip the script thinking isn't just a mindset. It's literally it's a movement. It's movement. It's action. And when you do that, you retrain your brain to see the problem, name the problem, speak truth over it, and then we do something about it. That is what courageous women do. That is how courageous women grow. That is how we put our faith into motion. And as courageous women, again, we don't wait for motivation, feel like we do it. We just do it. We don't just pray for change. We partner with Father and we act on it. Act on what He told us. And when we do that, my friends, we flip the script on our success. And that outcome that we so desired actually starts coming into existence because we have chosen flip the script thinking instead of outcome thinking. So let's look back on what we learned on how to flip the script in our thinking. We started with courageous practice number 1, and we learned how to ask better questions, because when you ask better questions, you get better answers. We are training our mind to see obstacles and opportunities. We asked, how could this fail? How could I screw this up? How could I self-sabotage myself? And again, we're not predicting disaster. We are preparing with wisdom. We're learning to see new angles and perspectives so that we can do something different. Once we know we've got that list, we're like, I can see where I would gonna screw this up and how this could fail. Then we move into courageous practice number 2. Flip the fail into faith. That's when we go from our mind to our mouth, okay? We take what could go wrong and flip it with our words. We learn to use inversion thinking, taking full 100% responsibility. I choose statements, right? I choose to take action. I choose to market. I choose to put myself out there. I choose to do the post, right? Because our brain is listening to our mouths. And when we speak live, our heart and our actions are going to follow, which brings us to courageous practice number 3, take action. This is that moment where faith becomes motion. It isn't just theory anymore. It is doing the thing that we discovered when we asked, how could this fail? And then we act on what we've learned. And we're not going to do it perfect, but we are going to do it on purpose. Because confidence doesn't come before the action. It grows through it when we do the action. Flip the script. Thinking isn't about fear and failure. It is really about faith and having foresight. Okay? Wisdom. And then it's acting on it. And it's how courageous women turn wisdom into movement and obedience into impact. This, my friends, is how we create success and the outcome that we desire. Now, this week, I want you to flip the script in real life. So we're going to do our courageous action. I want you to pick one area. Maybe it's something in your business, a relationship, a habit. Maybe it's your faith, okay? Somewhere where you're feeling stuck or uncertain. You're going to do step number 1. Remember, courageous practice number 1, ask better questions. Grab your journal, your planner, write it down. How could this fail? How could I self-sabotage? And then you're going to list every possibility, every obstacle, every roadblock, no filters, and no judgment. Okay? No judgment. There's no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus. Then you're going to do courageous practice number 2. You're going to flip the fail into faith. Take what you wrote and then turn it into I choose to statements. I choose to stay consistent. I choose to communicate honestly and clearly. I choose to show up when I'm nervous. I choose to trust Father with what's beyond my control. I choose to take the action step, whatever that is. But then, don't stop there. You got to go to courageous action number 3. Take action. You got to move. You actually got to do the thing. Okay? Look back on what you discovered in step 1, what you declared in step 2, and then act on it. And maybe you just start with one specific thing this week, right? It doesn't have to be big to be effective, but you do have to do it. So maybe it is send the message. Maybe it's do the video. Maybe it's you have a video that has been sitting there and you haven't posted it. Go freaking post it. Okay? Make the phone call. Do the follow-up. Post the offer. Say no when you would normally say yes. Maybe it's say yes when you would normally say no. Whatever the step looks like for you, do it on purpose and do it now. Okay? Don't wait. Don't wait for the feelings. Don't wait for the motivations. Just do it. And as you do, you are going to gain confidence when you get moving, not by waiting to feel ready. Because I'm going to be honest, I just never feel ready. And I would never do anything if I waited to feel ready. Courageous women, my friend, we think differently and we live braver. Now, if practice number 3, taking action, hits home for you, but it's also the part you struggle with the most. Yeah, me too. Yeah. That's why I'm the courageous coach. Hello? Because I have to do what I practice. Okay, this is for you. This is exactly why I created my free 5-day Overcome Fear by Friday video challenge. It is a self-paced video challenge that helps get you unstuck and get you acting in faith lickety-split, okay? I am going to send you videos right to your inbox that you can watch, one each day. They're short, 8 to 10 minute videos. It's got a little worksheet with it. You work through that. And my friends, that is going to help you overcome some fear by Friday. Go to hellocourageous.com/fear challenge. So, because listen, my friends, we don't wait for fear to leave before we move. We move forward with Father, one faithful step at a time. So if you need a little extra boost, go to hellocourageous.com/fear challenge. Sign up. I'll get that right to your inbox, okay? Now, next time we are talking about one of the hardest parts of courage, and that is learning when to let go. We're going to dive into what it looks like to release what is no longer working for us. Sometimes that's the hardest thing, my friend. But we're going to see what's not working for us. Maybe it's in your business, maybe your routines, even in relationships. And what we're going to do is we're going to make room for what Father's got next. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is live with open hand and let and trust that Father is still writing your story, my friend. He's not done. And when we give that to Father, it makes room for what He has next for you. All right? Now listen, you have got this, and Father's got you. I just want to thank you a bunch for listening or for watching. And until next time, I want you to think better and live braver.